Almighty God, who in thy wisdom and goodness has appointed the offices of rulers and parliaments for the welfare of society and just government of men, we beseech thee to behold with thy abundant favor us thy servants, whom thou hast been pleased to call to the performance of the let thy blessing descend upon us, that we grant us that we may treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner, to promote thy honor and glory, to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of this country and of those whose interests thou hast committed to our charge. Amen. Good morning, everybody. Please sit down. Thank you. Thank you.
Records of votes and proceedings of the National Assembly sitting of Wednesday, 19 June 2019.
Thank you. Honorable members, the record of votes and proceedings of the National Assembly sitting of Wednesday, the 19th of June 2019 is before us for consideration and adoption. Can an honorable member please move that the said record of votes and proceedings be considered and adopted? Yes, honorable member for Sami.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I rise to raise for record of votes and proceeding of the National Assembly sitting of Tuesday, 18 June 2019 be considered and adopted.
Thank you. Any seconder? Yes, Yamina West.
I rise to second the motion.
Thank you very much. It has been moved and seconded for the said record of votes and proceedings to be adopted. Any issues or observations from honorable members? In that case, we proceed. It has been moved and seconded that the record of votes and proceedings of the National Assembly sitting of Wednesday, the 19th of June 2019, be adopted without amendments. Those in favor, please say aye. Those not in favor, please say no. So the ayes have it. Thank you very much. Clerk, can we proceed?
Motion on the adjournment debate. Be it resolved that this August Assembly do stand adjourned, signed, die by Honorable Alaji S. Dabo, member for Pirkama North.
Honorable members, this brings us to the final sitting of the second ordinary session of the Assembly in the 2019 legislative year. The session was characterized by many important documents and businesses for the consideration of the Assembly. As we all know, the business of the plenary can never be exhausted, coupled, of course, with committee oversight functions. Therefore, we will today start the motion on the adjournment debate so that we can adjourn the second ordinary session sine die. And at this point, I wish to welcome the Honorable Cabinet Ministers who are here with us to attend this very important sitting of the adjournment, and that is the adjournment debate. We all know that this is a peculiar sitting of the Assembly at the end of each ordinary session, which allows honorable members the opportunity to discuss and debate on cross-cutting issues, which of course would require the attention of honorable ministers. Furthermore, the honorable ministers herein present will also be given the opportunity at the appropriate time of the debate to partake and respond to issues raised regarding their portfolios. So in accordance with the provisions of the standing order, specifically clause 9.4, I will allow the honorable member for Birkama North, who I understand has been authorized to deputize for the honorable majority leader, to move the motion for the Assembly to adjourn sine die. Honorable members will recall that the honorable minority leader and his deputy both traveled out of the jurisdiction, together, of course, with the minority leader. They are all on official missions. But before doing so, I would wish to draw the attention of the Assembly, that's the honorable members, to clause 9(6) of the same standing orders, which requires honorable members to speak for no more than 15 minutes during the debate on the motion for the adjournment of the Assembly, except that the Speaker may, at his or her discretion, allow the mover of the motion extra time for his or her reply. I would therefore kindly appeal to honorable members to take note of this provision of the standing orders regarding the adjournment debate. And on that note, may I now invite the honorable member for Brikama North to move the motion for the Assembly to adjourn sine die. Thank you very much.
Honorable Speaker, I rise to move that this August Assembly do stand adjourned sine die. Honorable Speaker, in moving the motion, I would like to give the Assembly a summary of what had transpired during the second ordinary session in the 2019 legislative year for the period 10 to 20th June 2019. Honorable Speaker, during the course of our deliberations, we considered and adopted the daily records of votes and proceedings of the National Assembly. Honorable Speaker, we had questions for oral answer sessions with honorable ministers as regards their various departments and portfolios. The following honorable ministers came to answer orally to questions asked by honorable members. 1, the Honorable Minister for Health. 2, the Honorable Minister for Lands and Regional Government. 3, the Honorable Minister for Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources. 4, Honorable Minister for Transport, Works and Infrastructure. 5, the Honorable Minister for Petroleum and Energy. And 6, the Honorable Minister for Agriculture. 7, the Honorable Minister for Interior. And 8, Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs. 9, Honorable Attorney General and Minister for Justice. Honorable Speaker, the following reports were tabled, considered and adopted by the Assembly. The report of the National Assembly delegation to the 14th session of the Parliamentary Union of Organization of Islamic Conference held in Rabat, the Kingdom of Morocco, from the period 11th to 14th March 2019, by Honorable Usman Toure, member of the delegation. The report of the National Assembly Select Committee on monitoring the implementation of government projects, Phase 1 and 2, by Honorable Suleiman Saho, the chairperson of the committee. The report of the National Assembly Select Committee on Agriculture, Rural Development, on field trip to project sites and other activities of the Ministry of Agriculture, by Honorable Lamin J. Sane, a committee member. The report of the Committee of Selection on the nominations of members of the Gambia-Cuba Parliamentary Friendship Group, by Honorable Mohamed El Kesani, Deputy Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the on-the-mentioned report was tabled and accordingly referred to the Finance and Public Accounts Committee of the National Assembly for further scrutiny. The report of the Auditor General on the audited financial statements of the central government of the Gambia for the year ended 31st December 2016 by Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs. Motions. Honorable Speaker, the following motions were tabled, considered, and or ratified by the Assembly. The loan agreement between the Republic of the Gambia and the Islamic Development Bank regarding Small Ruminant Production Enhancement Project, Step 1, by Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs. The loan agreement between the Republic of the Gambia and the Islamic Development Bank concerning ruminant production enhancement project, step 2, also by the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs, and the framework agreement between the Republic of the Gambia and the Islamic Development Bank on small ruminant production enhancement project by Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs. The agency agreement between the Republic of the Gambia and the Islamic Development Bank on small ruminant production enhancement project, also by the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs, and the framework agreement on the establishment of International Solar Alliance by the Honorable Minister for Petroleum and Energy. The motion for increment of remuneration of the members of the Commission of Inquiry into the financial activities of the public enterprises, bodies, and officers as regards their dealings with the former President Jammeh to an additional amount of $200,000 each by Honorable Attorney General and Minister for Justice. The following motions were tabled and referred to the relevant committees of the National Assembly for further scrutiny and report to the plenary. The revised standing orders of the National Assembly, the 2019 edition, by Honorable Syria S. Jata, the chairperson of the committee, deals, Honorable Speaker, the Maritime Zones Bill 2019 by the Honorable Minister for Petroleum and Energy was passed with amendments. The Gambia Information Communication Technology Agency Bill 2019 by Honorable Minister for Information Communication Infrastructure was recommitted to the relevant committee of the National Assembly for reconsideration and further consultations. Honorable Speaker, finally, the August Assembly is here today to start the motion on the adjournment debate for the Assembly to stand, adjourn, sigh, and die. With these few remarks, Honorable Speaker, on behalf of both sides of the National Assembly, I wish to seize this opportunity to express sincere thanks to the people of the Gambia for the trust and confidence reposed on us in the August Assembly. We reassure them the Assembly's continued resolve to serve the supreme interest of the people of the Gambia without fear or favor or party affiliation. Honorable Speaker, we thank for the understanding and patience you had with us during the ordinary session of the Assembly, and may Allah continue to grant you the wisdom to continue to do so. To my colleagues, honorable members, I register sincere thanks to you all for your foresight and dedication to the duty during the course of the session. In conclusion, I wish to also register our sincere thanks and gratitude to the clerk and staff of the National Assembly Service for all support and service rendered to all the members during this session. On that, Honorable Speaker, I beg to move.
Yes, any seconder? Yes, Honorable Member for Banjul North.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I rise to second the motion moved by the Acting Majority Leader for the second ordinary session of the 2019 legislative year to be adjourned sine die. To start with, Honorable Speaker, I want to commiserate with the people of Upper River Region and Central River Region for the disaster that struck vast swathes of communities in these two regions. And from my conversation with the National Assembly member for Woolly West, this is, according to him, this is the first time such a disaster had struck those communities. So this to me is an indication that climate change is real. As a country, we really need to brace ourselves to this fact and ensure that we would not do anything that would contribute to the deterioration of the environment that would resulting in these natural calamities. And I would want the government, particularly the National Disaster Management Agency, to really start engaging the communities that have been affected by computing all the losses and then get them documented. And then for the government, the National Assembly members of the affected areas, partners, to start the process of assisting the communities that are affected. As a committee, as the chair of the committee on the disaster, we would also consult to ensure that NDMA really starts the process. Honorable Speaker, I want to talk about aflatoxin. Aflatoxin is a toxin, a poison that is contained in the food that we consume, some of the food, groundnuts, rice, beans, but most of groundnuts, because groundnut forms a large part of our diet in the Gambia. The mbahals, the domodas, chichuras, name it. They are all groundnut based, so to speak. And that apart from the health implications, it also has some economic implications. Because as you all know, the honorable members, that Gambia is dependent on the groundnut trade. A vast majority of our population are dependent on groundnut production. But in terms of sales, groundnut is being affected. Gambian groundnuts are not accepted in some parts of the world, particularly traditional partners, those who were buying, that is the EU. They are no longer accepting our groundnuts because of the high level of aflatoxin contamination. So something has to be done. I understand that interventions have started. The GGC, former GGC, now National Foods Processing and, excuse me, the name is too long, it's a mouthful. But former GGC, they have contracted a loan. The Honorable Minister is here from the Islamic Development Bank. And part of it is to get towards that. And of course, there are some interventions like the USAID to help them with AlphaSafe to reduce the aflatoxin contamination of the crops. But my concern is there are women who are just from Banjul, after the bridge, where they dump the groundnut byproducts. You don't call waste because there's nothing that wastes in groundnut. They call it byproducts, the shell and the remnants of the broken nut. Stop there. And then I'm really concerned because we see women, they toil very hard, and I'm sure they are single parent, they are head of single parent households. I am quite sure of that. I know quite a few of them. Some are grandmothers who are also supporting households where their children are not working. So they are really hardworking women who need support, who need assistance. But I believe the assistance should not be for them to continue what they are doing. Apart from, like I said, we don't know whether what they are getting there is processed and then taken to the market for consumption, particularly what they call groundnut butter, dege. Of course, it's good for soap making. The shields are good for groundnut. So what I'm proposing, the honorable ministers are here, if the government can really help them with even machines for them to be transforming the briquette into, the shells into briquette. I know GGC's project is intervening in such an area, but GGC is going to be large scale. But for small scale, to get them engaged, there is need for government to help them at least take machines here so that they will be processing, transforming the shells into briquette. And this is going to help, like preventing the disaster that had happened just quite a few days ago. So this is a proposal I'm making to government and any other support, any other partner. But government, for me, my emphasis is government must take the lead in anything. Business can come, donors can come, but government must be seen doing something, and it must be seen taking the lead. So government should really look into this, help those women, rather than taking those things transform. They may find themselves in the market through, this groundnut butter, which, is toxic. So this is one area that I would really want government to look into.
And I am sure that honorable members whose constituencies are affected may wish to maybe take part in the debate so that they can go and see after this and this. And because of that, I would want to call on I understand the Woolies are the worst affected. So I'll call on the honorable member for Woolly West. But also bear in mind, honorable members, that we all cannot leave at the same time because the honorable ministers are here to hear our concerns. So we need to strategize so that at least quite a number of us will be around. Thank you. Woolly West, thank you.
Thank you, Madam. And thank you very much for the solidarity that you have just expressed. What I'm going to say, I'm not going to say it out of arrogance, but we must understand that simplicity and humility do not amount to ignorance. Madam Speaker, it is time we noted and appreciated the richness of this assembly in terms of expertise. And it is time we tapped the expertise that we have in this assembly. It is true that everybody in this assembly has a laptop, but that does not make us experts in computer science. But we are lucky to have among us an expert in computer science in the person of Honorable Mbo. So if there is any argument about computers, not computer like food, but computer science, the only reference here is computer, Honorable Mbo. If there is a second person, is Honorable Maro, as far as I know. These are the two people at the level of this assembly that we must tap as far as knowledge in computers are concerned. Even if there is a conference, for example, if you want to do justice to this country and to this assembly, Mbo must head that delegation. If you want to make an impact, if you want to make an input into that conference, he must lead that delegation. Yesterday something happened here. I kept quiet. Not because I didn't have anything to say, but I knew I would not be understood in that context. There was a talk of people being teachers. Yes, there is nobody here who is a teacher before me. I'm the first teacher in this assembly. But not just that. My intellectual bringing is to deal with language, not just to speak it. Some have acquired the skill to speak language. I have acquired the skill to speak it, but I'm also a language scientist. And that is why I'm capable of writing Chinese, even though I don't speak Chinese. I can establish the science system of Chinese, the phonology of Chinese, the syntax of Chinese, even though I don't speak Chinese, because I have the science of language. I have acquired that. So yesterday when I said something was wrong, there was a cry, everybody, yeah, no, it is not third person singular, this. That is where the explanation stopped. But when we say National Assembly, it is third person singular. But you always say, I move that the Assembly do consider. Why don't you say the Assembly does consider? Why don't you say that? They cannot technically tell me why. I could have said this yesterday, but it will not be understood. Every discipline has its technicalities. You have to delve into the science of that particular thing to understand it. We don't say, does consider, because it is in the subjunctive mood. If I say national language does meet, that is expressing regularity. But if I say I move that the National Assembly do consider, I'm not expressing regularity, but I'm expressing obligativity. So, yesterday, this text, the last paragraph on page 9, where it is said, at this juncture, Honorable Majanko Samusa, nominated member, moved a motion that the Assembly defers. I say defers is wrong. The same reason why you don't say, I move that the National Assembly does consider, is the same reason why this is also incorrect. I move that the Assembly defer, not defers. But they were arguing, yes, you know, this teacher, this. I'm a teacher. I was a teacher and I'm still a teacher. And in addition to that, I'm a language scientist. That's why I said I'm not saying it with arrogance. But I'm telling you what you don't know, or you know you ignore. So that is the reality. It was wrong and it is wrong. Anybody who says it, you are wrong. There are many things which are said in this assembly. I laugh. I'm not interested. Because this is a language that does not belong to you, it does not belong to me. We are just by force of historical circumstances being enslaved to speak a language which does not belong to us, which is even marring our development, our culture. Even the development of our own languages, our own cultures. Language is embedded in a culture. If you speak a language, you write in language, you are promoting the culture and development of that particular language to the detriment of your own. And that is why most of you are incapable of writing even a sentence in your own languages. You have been incapacitated by your knowledge of a language that you don't even know. That's the reality. And that is why the struggle in the world today is the struggle for the survival and maintenance of your own language. We are backward in Africa, we are backward in development because we are using a tongue that does not belong to us. You speak here, you are representing thousands of people out of these chambers. They don't even know what you are talking about, and you pretend that you are representing people. This is the reality of our situation. You should not pound your chests for speaking English or French. These are enslaved instruments. This is what colonialists use to enslave us, to make us hate our own languages. To a point that if you go to school, in the province, you see you as a tubab. They treat you as a tubab. There must be a second revolution. Linguistic revolution, to liberate our minds from the fetters of foreign languages. Madam Speaker, this is a statement I want to make about the situation yesterday. Now turning to other matters. There was a question on land disputes, and the Honorable Minister was here and answered adequately the question. But this is just a piece of advice. There are too many land disputes. And we are always addressing the issue of settling them. But it's not just an issue of settling them. These land disputes have divided communities which were one. They have turned them into enemies of each other. In my constituency, there are two villages. If you are not an indigent, you wouldn't know where one begins, the other stops. Today, when there is death in one of them, the others don't go there. And that was not the practice before. So if you settle the dispute, there is something more important to be settled: the oneness of those people. You must aim at bringing them together, for them to be one again, because they are the same people who marry each other, who go to each other's naming ceremonies, who go to each other's burials. But now that has gone away. We must bring it back. We cannot develop unless we are one. We must be together to be able to do what is in our collective interest. And we cannot do that unless people are one. There are no animosities, there are no anger. Yeah, when people are together, sometimes we quarrel, but fundamentally we must understand each other and then solve the matters and be one again. We can't do without each other. That is something very important.
Honorable member, you have about 3 more minutes.
Merci bien. Thank you. And then, as you said, a disaster of unprecedented proportions struck URR in general, and in particular, particularly Woolly West. In my village, 22 compounds are all devastated. Not just a building, but all the roofs are blown off. And people were killed also. At least 2 people lost their lives. An elderly person and a young person. Some are injured, some are in Bansan, some are in Yoruba. The wind, I think you would call it a cyclone, the Asian types. Because even the electric poles, in fact the high tension one standing over somebody's building collapsed on the building. If there was electricity, that would have been disaster. All those people in the community would have died. But fortunately, there was no light. But it had destroyed all the electric wires in the area. So they have been in dark now. They are working, but they are still in darkness. And as for livelihood, destroyed. Because the wind and the rain came together. Rain season has begun in our part of the Gambia. So it has destroyed livelihood and many other properties. And that is why this is the time the National Disaster Management Agency must come. Not just to give, because they must go on the ground and assess. Because that's the time they will know what aid to give. They must send a team to go and assess what exactly has happened in that area, what has been destroyed, what are their immediate requirements. Because there are immediate requirements. They need food. They need medicine, probably. They need clothing. All those things they must go and assess immediately. And then report and then supply. If there is anything to be given, they give. They cannot just sit there in that office and say, okay, we give this. No. We don't want that. They must go on the ground to assess. Because I have had an experience with them. I'm not going to narrate that. Not a happy one. But this is what they must do, and from here, I'm going to their office to see what they can do right now, to go over there to assess what has happened. Madam Speaker, I think it is important that we understand that politics is not about insulting people. Politics is not about character assassination. Politics, in fact, is organizing ourselves to be together in order to do something which is in our collective interest. That you cannot do by insulting people, because you insult, you are driving people away. What you say must be capable of pulling people towards you, bringing people together for our collective. That is what must be understood. We can't do without being together. If you want to develop our people, And we can't be what the law requires us to be if we keep on saying things which are putting our people apart. Our role fundamentally, we as MPs, whatever party you belong, I don't care. Your fundamental role is wherever you speak, whenever you speak, even those who are your opponents will recognize the fact that what you are doing is what is true, what serves the interests of the people. If you fail to do that, then you are failing.
Okay, just in time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Member for Woolly East. I'm sorry, honorable members, I want to give priority to the URR.
Yes. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and thank you very much for the solidarity given to us. I received your call last night. I was elated. Honorable Speaker, the efforts we are making here sometimes are not bearing fruit, because while we say certain things, for me, there is a lip service to some of the things that we are saying here. Those who should implement and ensure that certain things are done are not done. My concern, Honorable Speaker, is that we have endangered species. I mark them as endangered species, and we want to protect them. And these are relating to wildlife. We want them to survive, because we know the importance of their existence within our biodiversity. But we have wildlife in areas that are not protected areas. And these are areas that are bordering farmlands. We all clamor. The way we scrutinized the agriculture minister here, it was too intense the other day, putting pressure for rice production to be developed. Honorable Speaker,